What is the deal with hypnosis? What happens in our brain? How do these hypnotists get people to do the craziest things? If you want to find out more about hypnosis, please join us today on MysterE's Mysteries. I am MysterE. We are going to be exploring all things mysterious in the world of psychology. If you've ever seen a stage hypnotist, you see them with all of these people up on stage and they do this, the craziest stuff up there. And, you always, you wonder, like, how does this happen? Do these people know what's happening? Do they know what's happening in their brain? What is going on here? I'm here to help you with some of that stuff. So what hypnosis is, there's a couple different theories. We're going to focus on one theory mostly. This theory is based off of this concept that when you are in a hypnotic state, you are actually simply in a state of high suggestibility. A state of high suggestibility means that you are very willing to do what the hypnotist asks of you. Okay, so in the world of a stage hypnotist, you get up on stage. They put you in this deep, relaxed state where you are in a meditative sort of trance. Maybe perhaps feel a little disoriented, a little dissociated, a little separated from your body, your mind separated from your body. But ultimately, you're in a high state of suggestibility, which means you're just really willing to do whatever the hypnotist asks of you. In stage hypnotism, that's great. That's fun. It's entertaining. Wonderful. But what I want to talk about is what happens when therapy goes wrong. So there's a story from my part of the world where this woman back in the 80s was experiencing some mental health crises brought on by various factors. And she went to see a psychologist. And the psychologist actually practiced hypnosis. Because you're in a high state of suggestibility and you're undergoing hypnosis, a therapist needs to be very careful that they're not implanting suggestions in your mind. So this woman goes to therapy. She wants to get better. She wants to find out what's wrong with her, what's causing her to struggle with depression, anxiety, all sorts of other issues. And the psychologist wants to help, right? But the psychologist, as he's talking to her, he says things like this: what happened between you and your father when you were a child? Now, you might say that, well, okay, so if nothing happened, she's not going to say anything. But because she's in a high state of suggestibility and because she wants to get better, she will actually start reinventing her truth. And what happens is through this high state of suggestibility, you can actually create false, repressed memories. Repressed memories are memories that have been tucked away, hidden away. They do occur. They're pretty rare, but they do occur. They're tucked away. You can't gain access to them. But then all of a sudden, you may at one point in time. Hypnosis is not the place to do that. Because you're in such a high state of suggestibility, you are willing to generate a narrative. You're ready to create a story to help you get better. So in this particular case, this woman started to generate various stories about what her father had done to her. The therapist went on to suggest that could there have been cults, satanic cults involved? Could there have been any places where there was abuse? That sort of thing. By him simply asking those questions, created this story in this woman's mind. She created this story about how her father forced her to participate in satanic rituals that included killing a child, that included sexual abuse. He went on. I mean, this was over the course of 3, 4, 5 years. He went on to implant 120 something alternate personalities. So the therapist actually created these false stories, these false memories that this woman actually had dissociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder. Because she was in such a high state of suggestibility, she created these just deeply warped and twisted memories that had no truth. She ultimately confronted her father. Her father, of course, denied all allegations. Brothers and sisters were like, "What are you talking about? This stuff never happened." Confronted her father, right? A week later, her father died of a heart attack. I mean, this is just catastrophic stuff. Then all of a sudden, she had never displayed signs and symptoms of dissociative identity disorder before. And all of a sudden, she's showing signs and symptoms of these different people, like just stuff that had never existed before, right? So, a little background. Back in the 80s, post television show and book called Sybil and Three Faces of Eve, there was a push towards more diagnoses of multiple personality disorder and dissociative identity disorder. There was also a group of therapists that believed that mental illness was cropped in, was kind of anchored by Satan and the devil. And this therapist actually believed this to be true. Ultimately, this woman stopped seeing the therapist. They sued him in a civil court case. There was at least 3 other women that were a part of this suit that experienced the same stories that were implanted under hypnosis. His waiting room was filled with people with MPD or DID. It was just a travesty of all things psychology. But the therapist really believed that he was doing good work. And so they ended up settling out of court for a certain amount of money. I know the amount, but it doesn't matter. It wasn't enough for what he went through. But what's really fascinating about the civil suits is that the doctor could claim that it was no fault of his own. And the insurance company could say that as well. So although they would owe money, they wouldn't be tried in a court of law, and the doctor could still keep his license. He no longer practiced in the state that he was, but he continued to practice for 20, 25 years. And I don't think he did anything like that after the fact. But that's just kind of the state of hypnosis, where you can think of it almost like the hypnotist is the director and the person being hypnotized is the actor. And the actor is taking cues from the director, whether that's stage hypnotism or whether that's in therapy, determines, is this funny? Is this cute? Is this a really good time? Or could this be something that is detrimental? So hypnosis has to be used very carefully in therapeutic settings, and they need to make sure that they're not implanting any false memories whatsoever because of that high state of suggestibility. So with that being said, there's a little piece of information on hypnosis, and I hope you enjoyed this. I thank you for being present. Hey, feel free to give us 5 stars. A thank you to Unify Agency and Bear Wade for all the things he does for us. And make sure that you follow us on Apple or Spotify. Follow us on Insta, TikTok, YouTube Reels, all places where you can find our videos. Thank you all for being our followers, and I hope you all have a great day. See ya.